Today we'll explore an ancient building in Salt Lake City. Welcome.
Hello?
Yes, hello. I was wondering if I could get your help. I'm trying to locate a building behind the U sign.
Okay, which U sign?
The U sign just behind the hospital there on the mountain. The concrete U.
Block U?
Yep, the big block, yep. Well, just further up north on the mountain there, you have like a structure, and it looks like a really old structure. And I'm just trying to research it, really, and it's so fascinating. I feel like everybody in Salt Lake's been up to that thing.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's an old lime kiln. That's about all that I know, if it's the same one we're thinking of.
Okay, is that on university property?
I believe so. Hey Joe, that lime kiln is on university property, yeah, it is.
It is?
I believe so, yeah, from what I gather.
How would you suggest I go about getting any information about that?
Gosh, that's a good question. I don't know. Good question.
I mean, was that built by the pioneers?
Yeah, that's well out of my realm. I have no clue.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had some more info.
So do you guys? It's on your property, though. I mean, do you guys do any? Anything with it? Is it okay if the public visits it? Obviously, we've all been there at some point.
Yeah, the most I know is that because I'm in the shop that maintains the buildings around campus, and so we go up there on occasion and have to remove graffiti. Aside from that, that's all the knowledge I've got.
Is it historic? I mean, do you think it's gonna? It sounds to me like it's protected then, where you guys are removing graffiti.
Yeah.
So it is considered a protected historical.
I don't know the current status, but if they haven't torn it down, or by now then it's got to be some kind of landmark.
Do you have any idea who I might contact? I mean, how could we not know what this thing is?
Charles, he's kind of like our historic buildings guy.
At utah.edu.
Actually, I just found his phone. So a lot of these buildings around campus are, like up in Fort Douglas and in Lower Campus around President Circle. And we really can't do anything because we're on the historical registry. So go through him if we need to do any type of maintenance or repairs or new windows, new doors, etc.
I see.
Fall into the look.
So he would know. He would know a lot of this old stuff.
Yeah, his number's 801.
Oh, great. I appreciate everything. What was your name so I could tell him you sent me? Oh, great. Thanks for your help, Tim.
No worries.
Yes, hello. Is this Charles?
It is.
Hi, my name is John. I was directed to you by Tim.
I don't know Tim Kerr. It's not ringing a bell.
So, in any case, I was asking Tim a question and he thought you may know the answer. Just above the university sign, there's an old historic building up there. He called it the lime kiln.
Okay.
The old lime...
Yes, I know the lime. No.
Okay. And he said they perform maintenance on it and they remove graffiti.
Oh, okay.
But he didn't know what it was besides a lime kiln. Any history or...
Sure. As fate would have it, your timing is very good. I actually have a photo up right now because I was just reading it, and I happily send that to you.
That would be
Would you
wonderful.
like me to email something to you?
Absolutely.
Okay. And I have an article that the State Historic Preservation Office, short kind of blog posting, that they wrote not too long ago about the lime kiln as well.
Ah, excellent.
So it's a pretty interesting place. It's if you're ever in the area, it's only I timed it. It's only a 7-minute walk from the paved road to get up to the lime kiln.
I have been up there, but it's been probably 20 years. Now I'm getting a better idea, at least, that it was a lime kiln. But yes, I'm fascinated and would love to know the history behind it.
Yeah. Well, we don't know, unfortunately, much in way of specific history about this.
Oh.
Clearly there were There were 2 or 3 lime kilns in the area. There's a little one at the start of the trail, little remains of that one. And but the State Historic Preservation Office has been trying to do research on it, but kind of coming up empty-handed with much information. But clearly a unique facility, obviously important to early construction and a lot of other uses for lime. And so be happy to send these to you.
That would be wonderful. That's amazing that we don't know that it's can we speculate that maybe the Mormon pioneers built it?
Oh, yeah, certainly. I mean, whether it was what kind of blend of church and commercial enterprise it was, I don't know if it was a blend. I wouldn't be surprised if it was kind of a major utility or infrastructure kind of effort. So I wouldn't be surprised if the church was involved in its early startup and things like that. This plaque, I was just rereading it today and learning some things that I hadn't heard about. I don't know, it's not footnoted, of course, but it talks about a bad rainstorm in 1908 that destroyed the lime they'd been stockpiling, and that was kind of the end of the operation. I've been up into the quarry itself, and I just wondered if it got too onerous to actually mine the limestone, which is getting too difficult there. It kind of goes deep, it looks like. In any case, be happy to send these to you.
Okay, well, I look forward to what you send me, and you've been a great help. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, I'm going to send it right now because otherwise it'll get buried.
Oh, cool.
I better do it right this second.
Oh, excellent. Well, I sure do appreciate that.
Okay, good luck with it.
And that is how we get to the bottom of things. Even though we're far from the bottom. This man led me to this article. Very kind man. And just as clueless as we are. Having no idea what this structure is, besides a lime kiln. No history on who built it, when it went into disrepair. And I was tempted to ask him one more question. But I think the question is there, in everybody's mind. Whether they're aware of it or not. This baby looks ancient. And when we look at the path leading up to it, pretty worthless, seeming like this site has seen very little action for perhaps hundreds of years. And maybe this is what all of Salt Lake City looked like. A very well-built structure in ruins. And here, just as he told me, they have recently put up some signage. And here's about the earliest picture I've seen. What do I notice immediately? Is that this kiln is in the same ruined condition as it is today. Way back when. Again, the earliest picture I've ever seen. This man just looks like he discovered this. I guarantee there's not a single photo because nobody even knows really what it is. And in reality, I think myself and most of us in this community know exactly what this is. An old ruin. So this land was donated in 1975 by Francis Brockbank. There were originally 3 lime kilns in this area, all constructed in the 1850s. So this is pretty silly. The Mormons just arrived. This would have been one of the first things they would have built. Already there's so many anomalies with the construction in Salt Lake City, including the temple and its surrounding buildings. But this, throwing up 3 lime kilns that look absolutely ancient, even in the oldest photograph to be seen. Listen to the wording here. He donated this land in 1975, which included this area known since pioneer times as Lime Kiln Gulch. Just known. So here a very detailed explanation on what it is, but no talk of any construction, who or how. And we're told one fine day in 1908, a violent rainstorm destroyed a year's worth of lime. And that's it, they just shut it down. And here we're told it was restored in 1976, this big lime kiln. And we know better. I'm sure it was stripped down to its bare bones, any tech removed, and clearly they've put these bars up in front now. The whole thing being barred in. That is probably their restoration. And you can clearly see that there was more structure we are just seeing the faintest husk of what this really was. And again, when I first visited this place 20 years ago, I thought to myself, this is like a castle. What is a castle doing up here? Especially when you stand on the top. And if you noticed, that was some of the rules posted on the sign. No standing on the castle or the lime kiln. And here, just as we see with star forts, always the two plug holes on top, and very exciting. Looks like they've put some fencing up here so we can't get up on the top like I was able to 20 years ago. This rabbit hole's getting pretty deep, and such as with any rabbit hole, it's starting to branch off into many directions. And I want to stay focused and remember why this is so important. We're told in the early 1850s the Mormons arrive to flee from the federal government and persecution. We're also told that within a year or two, the federal government follows them and sets up Fort Douglas on the east bench of the Salt Lake Valley. So much for fleeing the federal government. We're also told they begin construction on the temple and the city, thousands of buildings at the same time. But what's missing, of course, is all of the building materials. When it comes to the temple, we're told they quarried stone almost 20 miles away in a canyon. When it comes to the thousands of brick buildings and the millions of bricks required to construct them, I have not yet found a good explanation. But this particular investigation ties right into the bricks, because without this lime kiln, or several of them being constructed beforehand, no mortar is being made to unite these millions of bricks. So this is perhaps the most important event. Before you could even produce the building materials, you have to essentially create this infrastructure first. And when we finally do look at the history, and it's so vague, and as you've just seen thus far in the video, almost lost history only 150 years ago. And here, the kind man Charles has sent me 5 articles. This is one from 1976 in the Salt Lake Tribune, and this is another one. This is not even the one we were looking at. Very interesting. Just looking like some old world ruins up in the mountains. And we're told here, finally, the first explanation in this old 1976 newspaper article. Brigham Young set up a kiln in 1850 in Red Butte Canyon. So again, not even the one we're looking at. Most kilns have become the skeletons of another age. And here is the firm, the Paulson Engineering and Construction firm, that is restoring this kiln back in 1976. And even here you see they're telling us the availability of lime made the difference between construction of mud huts and buildings made with stronger mortar. So there we go. Lime is used in whitewash, plaster, culverts, and foundations. And without this there is no city. And yet why is it an absolute ruin? Its history almost completely forgotten? I think this really lends to our theories on the past civilization. Here they work so hard to stitch a narrative together and neglected this very, very key element. They tell us they heat the lime after crushing it at 800 degrees centigrade. The calcium carbonate changes to calcium oxide, and 45% of the rock's weight is driven off. After about 2 weeks of constant burning, the lime was hauled out in bus bell baskets. In their prime, in the 1900s, the kiln supplied 10,000 bushels of lime yearly. And we're told in 1908, a violent rainstorm turned the quicklime stockpile into a huge, bubbling, steaming mass. The owner went bankrupt, and that was it. They shut it down. Does that make any sense? Was there any replacement? Who cares about an owner? Surely the Mormons would have owned this. They would have had their own kilns. We're told, after all, that he told his people to build this kiln in 1850. And here a look at the inside. It looks like all brick, not sure. And quite a bit of restoration, we're told. In fact, they restored the whole thing, according to this article. Although 2/3 of the kiln was still standing, we excavated and reworked most of the structure, Paulson said. We analyzed the mortar and made the new mortar as close to the same as possible. And here we can see this man seemingly restoring this ruin. Or were they restoring? Or could they have been covering something up? Here's an old sketch. And again, when you're here, you feel like you're on a castle. And no level ground anywhere. Why wouldn't you level the area? The whole thing is on a hill. And these pictures are pretty ridiculous for 1976. I'd like to try to get some color ones if possible. And I'm glad they are preserving this thing. There is a plaque on it, as we saw. And we're told at one point that a third kiln was covered up with a retaining wall from a residential dweller. And unbelievable that they would allow that. And here we're told Brigham Young, starting this now forgotten industry as early as 1850, sent workers into nearby Red Butte Canyon to burn limestone. That's it. Go up there and burn me some limestone. What? You don't just burn limestone. You first have to quarry the limestone. And then you have to build your kiln. How did this conversation end? Okay, Brigham, we'll see you in about 2 years. Meanwhile, everybody's waiting around before a lick of construction can begin. This is much more important than just sending some guys out to the hills to burn some lime. And this has now been turned into a park, the Bernard P. Brockbank Bicentennial Park. I'm very happy about all of this news today. I was just gonna come here and take some quick drone footage. I felt that's all I needed. But what I can see is that if these are kilns, there's very little burning. We would expect to see this completely blackened. There's no sign of ash, and there's not any vents. We do see the big, what I called plug holes on the top, which they would tell us are the tops of the kilns, and yet we see no access. Maybe a little slit right there, but seeming non-functional. What it also seems like is this is naturally buried. These arches may have been up to 10 feet at some point. And now they're about 5. And this thing just doesn't make sense. The top of that archway is also the top of this interior chamber. And yet there's so much more building. If I step back, you get a better perspective of how much building there is. So, what is the real function? When I originally saw it, I thought it had something to do with water. I don't know. Some exit point for water that had been tapped into in this mountain. And it really seems like a river should be flowing. In fact, I feel like I can hear one. I really do. I hear a vent down there, as if the water has been diverted. And I think this may have had something to do with it. Again, these chambers are so shallow, and there's a lot more building here. And I'm gonna try to get a little peek from the top inside of those chambers those plug holes. As I did see on the internet, they had brick on the inside of them. And they told us they did renovations here. And could there have been covering up of something much greater? And I swear, just when you're done, the rabbit hole grabs a hold of you again. Here I am at the end of the trail. And I had read on the internet that there was another part of the kiln and it had been covered up with a retaining wall. Well, here's the retaining wall, and there is the kiln. There's a house up there. And way down here, below street level, there's a street. And down here is a buried kiln. Same MO of what we were looking at before. Unbelievable. And I think this lends to what I was saying. This had more to do with water, some kind of aqueduct system, than it did a kiln. Because here we have it spilling in to this duct. Chief, where are you? Oh, there you are. Come down here. Unbelievable. This is probably the most exciting part. This is the cherry on top. I was kind of feeling a little inconclusive until this. Let's see if I can stick the camera down here into this hole. Chief, come here. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, and it's so cold down here. Wow. There we are. And again, no burn marks to be seen. Not a kiln. Oh, how fascinating. Very exciting conclusion. And basically what we do see is this retaining wall is another building like we saw up there. And this is probably the condition it was in before they put their cheap repairs on top. And now this actually makes a lot more sense. All of this retaining wall is the remains of the building, just like up there. But this one is completely buried. Let's have a look around this side. And here we go, a little bit more revealed. Amazing. And really selling our history out. And that's it. A very fascinating exploration. I hope you enjoyed. And do have a blessed day. Please like, comment, and subscribe.